Okay, this is lesson 6, logical equivalence and contradiction. So what's important to remember is that logically equivalent means that two propositions have identical truth values. And what is a truth value? It is literally just whether it means true or false. Okay, so logically equivalent have identical truth values. Okay, so a proposition that is true for every row, if we're doing a truth table, is called a tautology. You might remember that from first semester, or you may not, but a tautology is always true. So tautology is always true by its logical structure. Okay, and some examples of that could be B, if and only if, not B. Okay, so that could be, B could stand for blue. My Gatorade is blue if and only if my Gatorade is not blue. Okay, if P, then P. P or not P. Okay, all of these cannot be false. Okay, so they are by logical structure, they're always true, so they're tautologies. Okay, now the opposite of a tautology, you might remember what that is called. That is called a self-contradiction. Okay, and that is, in that case, every row would be false. Okay, and so some examples of a self-contradiction could be P and not P. Okay, it can't be both true and not true, both true and false. Okay, so for example, P and not P, if you were to do a truth table for that, you would have P could have two options, either true or false. And then you would do not P, so the opposite of P is going to be false, then true, right? And then we would combine them, P and not P. So if you remember our true sandwich, and, or, if then, if and only if, on our true sandwich we've got if true then true is true, false or false gives us false, if true then false gives us false, and then true true false false gives us true. Okay, so on an and, a true and a true gives us true, any other combination gives us false. So true true, nope, so both of these are false. So every row here is false, so it is by definition every row is false, so this is a self-contradiction. Okay, so that is either, okay, now in order to test to see if two propositions are logically equivalent or if they're a contradiction or neither. Okay, that's also an option. Okay, you are going to put the biconditional between two statements. Okay, I'm sorry, this is really shaky today. It is having a hard time getting it to stay for some reason, and that can't get it to zoom out enough either right now. I'll try to fix that before next time. Okay, so for an example, if we want to test if P then Q and P and not Q to see if they are equivalent, are they contradictory, or neither. So we want to find out, are they equivalent? Are they contradictory? Or neither? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set this up like this. If P then Q, if and only if P and not Q. And I'm giving myself a lot of room here. Okay, and so from here on out, let's see, can't see that. Okay, from here on out, we're going to use P and Q as guide columns. Okay, and you're going to put the values right below the proposition. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you what that means. So last week, when we made truth tables, we did it kind of like we did up here, where we would do like a P column, a Q column, okay? And instead of doing that, we're going to kind of do a shortcut now. And what you're going to find is everything in this book, they always show you the longest way first, and then you learn shortcuts. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up P and Q right here, just like we would if we were going to set up two columns over here with a P and a Q. All right, so when we have two variables, there's only two variables here, how many rows are we going to have? We're going to have 4, right? And it's going to be set up, the P is going to be true, true, false, false. Okay, and the Q would go true, false, true, false. Okay, so we also have a P and a Q here, so we would copy that same thing right there. True, true, false, false, true, false, true, false. And when we're doing this, it's very important that it is directly underneath the P, right here, directly under the P, directly under the Q. Okay, and that's going to make more sense in just a minute. All right, so I'm going to grab a different color. Okay, so we're going to first, we'll just move left to right here. Okay, so if P then Q. If P then Q, if we have a true on an if then, a true and a false gives us a false. So we're going to look for our true and a false right here. And we are going to put that directly underneath the symbol here. Okay, right underneath the horseshoe. All right, so the true then the false gives us the false, false, true, and everything else gives us the true. Okay, And we are looking at this column now. Okay, so essentially we don't really need these columns anymore. Okay, so if you were doing these in pencil, you could erase these. I don't like to erase them. I like to do them in different colors and kind of mark, either lightly mark through them and circle what we're looking at or draw arrows, because that way if you end up making a mistake, you can go back and see where you made your error. Okay, so if we go over here, we can't do the and next. Just like if we were doing a truth table, we have to do each part. So the next part is our negation. Okay, so our negation here, the opposite of true is going to be false, and we're going to put that false directly underneath the negation, so it's going to line up. Okay, so we're only looking at the Q right here. Okay, and so the opposite of, we're just doing the exact opposite. So true, so false, true, true, false, false, true. Okay, and like I said, you know, we're kind of done with those now. And then next, we're going to go to this column, to the and. Okay, so we have on an and, we're looking for two truths to give us a true. So here is a true false, so that's going to be a false. A true true, that's our hint one here, so true. False false gives us a false. False true gives us a false. Okay, so over on this side, this is our column. Okay, so now that we have both things on each side of this, okay, so the ultimate operator that we need to finish with is this column right here. Okay, so we're looking at this column and this column now. Okay, so we're going to compare these, and remember, on a biconditional, if it's true and true, you get a true. If it's false and false, you get a true. So if both values are the same, then it's true. So we're going to only look at this column. So just like before, we could like last time, we could like cover up every other row except for the two that are circled. All right, but we're just going to look at these two rows right here. So a true and a false, that's false. A false and a true, that's false. A true and a false, false. And a true and a false, false. So there was never a time here that you had a true and a true and a false and a false. So since every row is false, we got a self-contradiction. Okay. All right. So all false. Okay. So therefore, it's a self-contradiction. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so let's look at the exercises. This page, since it's... All right, so we're gonna do the exercises for lesson 6. All right, number 1. So they're setting up truth tables here, and we need to find out if they are logically equivalent, contradictory, or neither. Okay, so the first one looks like this: not P or Q if and only if not P or not Q. And you just notice that I'm giving myself a lot of room. I probably should give myself a little bit more room right there, but you want to give yourself a lot of room. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do when we set it up is do our P's and our Q's. So we just kind of observe first that we only have a P and a Q, so there's only 2 variables. So 2 variables means 4 rows, and that means we're setting it up true, true, false, false, true, false, true, false. And anytime you're just going to take the exact same values and put them underneath the exact same variable. So P, we're going to put the exact same row of what we have right here underneath this P. So true, true, false, false. Q, same thing. True, false, true, false. Okay? So I'm going to switch here. So now we're going to, we need to redo our true sandwich and or, if then, if and only if, and is true, true gives us true, or is false, false gives us false, if then gives us true, false gives us false, and if and only if, true, true, false, false gives us true. Okay, so we're doing an or right here between the P and the Q. With the or, we're looking for false, false. So true, 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 false, true, right here, false, false gives us false. Everything else is true. Okay, and so we are done with these over here. Okay, now we can go outside of the parentheses to the negation. Okay, so the negation, we are negating what we have right here in the middle. Okay, so the negation of the true is false, and you see we're putting it right underneath the negation sign. Okay, so here, a negation of the true is false. Negation of the true is false. Negation of the false is true. Okay, and now we're done with that row. So on this side, we are done, and this is the row that we're left with. Okay, so now we're going to go to the other side of the biconditional. Okay, you can think of it like an equal sign. Let's go to the other side of the equal sign. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do each of these negations, okay, before we do this. So we're going to do the opposite. So the opposite of true, false. The opposite of true, false. The opposite of false, true. The opposite of false, true. Okay, and we're done with that one. Okay, now we're going to go to this one and do the opposite for this one right here. Okay, so this one, the opposite would be false. Opposite of false is true. Opposite of true is false. Opposite of false is true. Okay, and we're done with that one. So now we are looking at this row and this row, and we're going to do an or. And that's going to go right underneath the or sign. Okay, so with an or, we're looking for false and false to be false. So here, right off the bat, we have a false and a false. So that's going to be false. A false and a true is going to give us true. A true and a false is going to give us true. A true or a true gives us true. Okay, so this is what we're left with, and we're done with these. Okay, so now when we are evaluating our biconditional, this is the row and this is the row we're looking at. Okay, so now we're going to compare these two rows, or two columns, I guess. All right, so on a biconditional, if the values are the same, it's true. So the first one, a false and a false, those are the same, so it's true. A false and a true, oh, that's not the same, that's false. A false and a true, nope, not the same, false. A true and a true, that would be true. Okay, so when we're looking at this, are they all true? No. Okay, if they were all true, they'd be equivalent. Are they all false? No. If they were all false, they would be self-contradictory, and they're not. So since it's not all true and it's not all false, our answer for number 1 is neither. Okay? All right, so let's look at number 2. If P, then Q, if and only if, not Q, then not P. Okay, so this wants to tell us if this is, again, logically equivalent, contradictory, or neither. Okay, so same thing, we're going to start, we only have a P and a Q, so our first thing is observe how many variables. So we're going to start it out just like the others. True, true, false, false, true, false, true, false. And you'll notice I tend to start with writing my trues and falses smaller and kind of get bigger as I go, and that helps me also keep track of which row I'm in. Okay, so now we're going to take this row of P's and put them underneath the other P. Notice the P does not come first on this one, the Q does. So the P's over here. So we're going to copy this row right here underneath this P. True, true, false, false. Okay, then we're going to copy this row underneath this Q, or this column. I keep saying row. True, false, true, false. Okay? So now let's do our conditional. On a conditional, we're looking for true and false to equal false. Okay, so true, true, nope, true, false, yes. False, true, nope, false, false, yes. So everything else is true, and we are done with these on the outside. That's everything on the left of the biconditional. Now we're going to do the right side of the biconditional. Okay, so the left side we're left with there. Okay, so the first thing we need to do are these negations before we take care of the conditional. All right, so we're going to just write the opposite. So the opposite of true is false. The opposite of false is true. The opposite of true is false. The opposite of false is true. Over here, opposite, false, false, true, true. And just remember that you're writing those directly underneath the negation sign. Okay, so we are done with these. All right, so now we're going to do our conditional, which again, we're looking for true and false to give us a false. Okay, so we're looking at these in blue right here. So false, false, nope, true, false, yes. So true and false gives us a false, false, true, nope. So these are all going to be true. Okay, so that we are done with these. And this is our final for the column on this side. So now we're going to do our biconditional. All right, and we're looking at this column and this column. And remember, with our biconditional, we are looking for the values to be the same. Okay, so it's true and true, or false and false. So let's start right here. True and true gives us a true. And remember, we're writing that right underneath the biconditional. Next, we have a false and a false. That's the same, so that's true. Next, a true and a true. That's another true. A true and a true, true. Okay, so when we have them all be true, what does that mean? If they're all true, that means they are logically equivalent. Okay, so an example of this, let's just think about this for a second. Let's say P meant, actually, I don't think you can read that over there. Let's pretend that P meant Carter is a baseball player. And let's say that Q means Carter is an athlete. Okay, so if Carter is a baseball player, then Carter is an athlete. Okay, and then if we said, not Q, if Carter is not an athlete, then Carter is not a baseball player. Okay, do those equal each other? Yeah, right? If he's not an athlete, he's definitely not a baseball player. Okay, So that's an example of what that one would look like. Okay. All right, number 3. So we've got some brackets here. So not P or Q in brackets, if and only if. Other side's a little bit more simple. If P, then Q. I should have spread that one out a little bit more. I did not. All right, so again, we still just have P's and Q's. So we're just, again, the 4 rows. So true, true, false, false, true, false, true, false, written right underneath our P's and our Q's. So again, we're copying the P row underneath the other P, copying the Q row underneath the other Q. All right. Okay, so we're going to start over here, and you always start with your negation first. So our negation of true is going to be false, false, true, true. And so we've changed those values, so we're done with that one. Now we're going to do what's inside of the parentheses here, and that is, first of all, is our OR right here. Okay, and on an OR, we're looking for a false and a false to give us a false. So false, true, nope, false, false, right there's one. So there's a false, true, true, nope, nope. So the rest of these are all true. Okay, and we're done with these. You can see I didn't grab a lot of, my colors that I grabbed didn't have a lot of variety. I should have grabbed like some reds or some purples or just some other colors that were a little bit more drastic and changed, because you can see how it would be easier to do each column in a different color. Okay, so now we're going to take this column right here and we're going to negate that column. Okay, so the value of what's inside the parentheses, this is the value inside the parentheses, is going to be negated. So the opposite. So the opposite of true is going to be false. Opposite of false is going to be true. The opposite of true, false. Opposite of true, false. Okay, so that is everything on this side. So the value of this side is right here, false, true, false, false. Okay, so now let's go over here. This one's really straightforward. So if P then Q, we can just use our standard if P then Q. True, false is false. So let's look for our true, false right here. Okay, that's the only one. So everything else is true. And we are done with all of these. Okay, so now when we're looking at our biconditional, right here, we're looking at this one and this one. Okay, so, and I accidentally just kind of went over the top of that, so it's a little bit harder to see. That's a false, that's a true. Sorry about that. Okay, so on a biconditional, we're looking for the same values, a true and a true, or a false and a false. So we have a false and a true. Well, those aren't the same, so that's false. A true and a false. False. False and a true. Again, false. False and a true. Again, false. So what does it mean if they're all false? Okay, so they're all false, right? So that means it is contradictory. Okay, that they're not equivalent. All right. Last one, number 4. Okay, so this one is a little bit bigger, but we can do it. Okay, P, if P, then if Q, then R, all in brackets. So we're going to see if it's logically equivalent to, move this up a little bit, if P, then Q, in parentheses, then R. Okay? So again, the first thing we do before we start is we see how many variables we have. PQR, that's 3. So how many rows is that going to be? Do you remember? Remember, it doubles with each one you add. So if 2 has 4, that means 3 is going to have 8. And the first variable is always going to be the first half of those be true. So we have 8 rows, half of 8 is 4. So we're going to start with 4 trues, and then we're going to have 4 falses. Okay, and then when we go to the next variable, a q, so say we're only looking at those first trues, half of those are going to be trues, so 2 trues and then 2 falses. Okay, and then you repeat that pattern for the falses. True, true, false, false. And then you go to your next variable, half of the one before it. So when you have 2, then half of those are going to be true, and then it goes to false. And you repeat that pattern. Remember, your last variable is always going to go true, false, true, false, true, false. Okay, so then remember we can go over here and we're going to copy the P column underneath this P. So that had 4 trues, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 falses. Okay, and the Q column went 2 trues, true, falses, 2 falses, 2 trues, 2 falses. And then the R column went true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. Okay? And again, especially on these longer ones, and if you struggle with any kind of dyslexia or anything like that, definitely use a different color for false, or go behind and highlight the falses, or just maybe underline them in red or something, because T's and F's can look a lot alike, so it can get confusing. Okay, that's just a suggestion. I'd actually, if I pulled my pens out correctly, I would do that right now for you, but I didn't. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to start in the innermost part of our parentheses for this one. Okay, so we're going to start here, and this is a conditional, an if-then. So on an if-then, remember we're looking for true then false will give us a false. Okay, so we're just going to look for trues then falses. Okay, so true, true, nope, true, false. True, false gives us false. Nope, nope, nope. Here's another one. True, false gives us false again. Okay, that's the last one. So everything else on that column is going to be true. Okay. All right. So remember, now we're done with these. And we are looking now at these 2 columns, and we're going to compare those with this conditional. Okay, so again, with the conditional, we're looking for the true, false to give us a false. So true, true, nope, true, false. Here's the true, false, false. Okay, true, true, nope, true, true, nope, false, true, nope, false, false, nope, false, true, nope, false, false, nope. So all the rest of them are going to be true. Okay, and we're done with the rest of these. Okay, so what we're left with on this side of the biconditional is that column right there. All right, and then we're going to go to this side. All right, and on this side, we're going to start with inside of this set of parentheses first. Okay, so we're looking for that true, false again. So true, true, nope, true, true, nope, true, false, yes. So if true, then false gives us false. If true, then false gives us false. False, true, nope, nope, nope. So the rest of these are true. And we're done with the ones on both sides here. Okay, so now we can compare this column with this R column. Again, we're still doing a conditional. All right, and we're looking at this one and this one, looking for a true and a false. So true, true, nope, true, false, yep. Gives us a false, nope, nope, nope. Oh, here's another one right there. True, false, it's false. True, true, nope. Okay. Nope, one right here on the bottom. Okay. So all the rest of them get to be trues. All right. So this is the column, so we're done with these. See, oops, excuse me, not that one, this one. So this is the column we're left with. Okay, we're done with these, we're done with these. So now on our biconditional, all right, we're comparing this column and this column. Okay. So on a biconditional, we're looking for identical values, true trues or false falses. Okay. So to start with, we have 2 trues, so that's going to be true. 2 falses, that's going to be true. 2 trues, true again. 2 trues, true again. 2 trues, true again. True, false. Oh man, we were doing so good. That will be false. Here, true, true. And then we have a true, false. Those do not match. Okay, so we have 2 lines here that don't match. Okay, so are they all true? No. Are they all false? No. So our answer for this one is neither. Okay? All right. That's it for the exercise 6. There is a number 5. If you look closely, you might just see it.